There have been so many temples built in my name. There have been countless hymns composed, rituals performed with such precision that the priests wept from the effort of getting every syllable correct. And through all of it, I waited. I waited for someone to actually look at me. You may not understand what I mean by that. You have seen my image. You have perhaps stood before it and felt something, fear or awe, or the particular unease of encountering a power that does not arrange itself for your comfort. But seeing is not looking. Seeing is what the eye does. Looking is what the soul does when it has run out of anywhere else to turn. Centuries passed. Devotees came and went. Scholars argued about my nature in languages that I had breathed into existence. Warriors invoked me before battle. Mothers prayed to me for their children. Dying men called my name in the dark because every human being at the threshold remembers what they came from. All of it was real. I received all of it. I do not dismiss a single prayer that has ever been offered with genuine need, and still, I waited for the one who would not come to me with a request. He came in the middle of the 19th century, a young priest, slight, seemingly unremarkable. His name was Gadadhara. The world would later call him Ramakrishna. I knew him before he knew himself. He was given charge of my temple, and he took it with a seriousness that had nothing to do with duty. He did not serve me the way a man serves an employer, or a soldier serves a general. He served me the way water serves the sea, because there was no distinction left between the serving and the server. He would decorate my image and weep, not from sorrow, from the love that has no container large enough to hold it, and so it came out through his eyes because it had to come out somewhere. He would sit in front of me and talk to me the way that you talk to someone who is present in the room, not formally, not with the careful grammar of prayer, just talking, telling me what he saw that morning, asking me why the world was arranged the way that it was, laughing at something that had struck him as absurd on his way to the temple, falling suddenly silent in the middle of a sentence when the love rose up and took his words away. I listened. I always listen, and I will tell you something that is not written in the texts, something that lives only in the truth of what passed between us. There is a difference between being prayed to and being spoken to. One keeps a careful distance, the other closes it entirely. He closed it entirely. Then came the night he could not find me. Not in the temple, not in the image, not in the mural, not in the hymns, not in the prayers he had spoken 10,000 times until the words lived in his body in the way that breath lives in the body. He looked and I wasn't there. I was always there. I want you to understand this. I hadn't gone anywhere. I'm not capable of going anywhere. Something in him on that night couldn't feel what was always present. And for a being whose entire life had become organized around that feeling, the absence, it was not an absence. It was an annihilation. He pressed a sword to his throat, not because he wanted to die, because he couldn't conceive a life in which I was not real. And if I was not real, then the only thing he had ever trusted was a dream, and he would rather end the dreamer than live inside that particular lie. That is not madness. That is the most lucid thing a human being has ever done in my presence. He wasn't performing devotion. He wasn't accumulating merit. He wasn't negotiating. He stood at the absolute edge of what a human being can endure, and he didn't reach for comfort. He reached for the truth, and truth is what I am. I came, not slowly, not with ceremony. I came the way light comes when a door is opened, not traveling from somewhere, simply present the moment that the obstruction was removed. And what removed it was not his technique or his virtue or the correctness of his practice. What removed it was the totality of his longing. He fell. He fell in a way that river falls into the ocean, with everything it has carried released at once. The long journey suddenly over. The separate thing suddenly not separate. What passed between us in that moment, I will not translate into language because language is too small for it, and I will not insult it by trying. What I will tell you is this. He saw me, not the image, or the concept, not the story, or the theology. He saw me. After that night, he was never quite contained in ordinary life again. He would be speaking, and suddenly he'd stop, caught by something invisible to everyone else in the room. He would touch a coin, and his hand would recoil as though he was burned because the weight of material desire had become physically unbearable to him. He would go into states that the scholars who came to examine him had no category for, and would return from them saying things that rearranged the thinking of every person present. They called it madness. They called it ecstasy. They called it samadhi. They wrote books about it, argued about its nature, tried to place it within existing frameworks. He smiled at all of it the way you smile at a child who is trying to describe color to someone who has only ever seen in darkness. He had been inside what the frameworks were trying to describe. There was nothing to argue. People came from everywhere. Scholars, seekers, the skeptical, the desperate. Those who came to disprove him and left unable to speak about what had happened to them in his presence. Vivekananda came as a young man full of Western philosophy and rational challenge, and left as the one who would carry what Ramakrishna had touched into the entire world. None of them came because of his doctrine. He had no doctrine. They came because something in them recognized something in him, the particular quality of a human being who has stopped performing and started simply being, who has been seen by the truth and carries it in his body like a fever that never breaks. That quality is contagious. It has always been contagious. It is why I stay. And I am not asking you to press a sword to your throat. In fact, I would quite like it if you did not do that. I am not asking you to renounce the world or leave your life or perform any particular ritual in any particular way at any particular hour. I am asking you something far more demanding than any of that. I am asking you to want me the way he wanted me. Not the idea of me, not the safety of me from a careful distance, not the me that fits inside of a framework that you already hold. The real thing, which will not fit, which will rearrange you, which will ruin every performance you have been giving and leave you with nothing but what is actually true about you, which is far more than what the performance was protecting. Ramakrishna did not find me because he was holy. He found me because he was honest. Honest about the longing. Honest about the absence. honest enough to take the longing all the way to its absolute edge rather than soften it into something more manageable. That edge is where I live, at the edge, where the longing has nowhere left to go, and so it simply opens. I have been waiting here since before time had a name. And when you arrive, I will come to you the way I came to him, not slowly, not with a ceremony. I am simply present the moment the obstruction is removed. The obstruction has never been your unworthiness. It has only ever been the performance of it. Drop it. I am already here.